I think it's safe to say that advertising has existed as long as humanity itself in one form or another. We encounter it almost every day, both at home and on the street, alone and in the company of others. We've seen it so many times that it's impossible to even count. And I'm more than sure that at least a few times you've seen disturbing commercials that can't even remotely be called normal. But have you ever wondered what lies behind it? Today we're going to look at a few such examples and try to answer this difficult question.
Go ahead and lick something. We lick you very much. If you want to lick something, lick us.
Well, this is truly one of the most famous creepy commercials, and I thought for a while whether it's even worth including it in this video, but it turns out that despite such popularity, not many people know about it, and it's really impossible to ignore it, at least not on my channel. We'll talk more about why an ordinary ice cream commercial suddenly turned out to be so strange and scary, but for now, let's just take a look at what it is. To begin with, this commercial consists of several episodes, the first of which was released 11 years ago on May 23rd, 2012. And it's called Love Lickers, which perfectly conveys the things that happen on the screen. The commercial opens with a shot of a young woman with an extremely unusual expression on her face and the shape of her head completely covered in ice cream. She's holding a waffle cone in her hand, but instead of ice cream, as you might think, it's just another, smaller woman. The camera zooms out further and further until it turns out that there's now a whole bunch of such women, and it's all a recursion. Just when it's starting to seem like we've finally reached the end of the commercial, a giant pink tongue pops out of the corner of the screen, and that's it. Except, of course, for the creepy background music, which is hardly surprising nowadays. Tempted by some ice cream yet? If not, let's take a look at another episode of the commercial, released a few months after the first one. In this scene, we see the same woman, entirely made of ice cream once again. And since there's no one else to lick, she starts eating her own head. It's pretty hard to tell from her facial expression whether it's delicious or rather painful, but ice cream probably just can't be terrible, so I think everything is fine. Overall, there are only 8 episodes of this commercial. 2 of them are dedicated to the ice cream woman, and only 2 of the remaining 6 can be called equally weird. However, I won't show you one of them because YouTube is unlikely to be very happy about it. But the last one is definitely worth watching. Here, I think everything is clear. The authors decided to use a pun of similar sounding words and thus came up with these screaming mutants with mouths instead of eyes. They only eat ice cream towards the end, but at least here you can see that it's actually tasty, at least for their biological species. The remaining episodes are not as interesting. While they are funny in some places and have some interesting secrets, they are all of low quality, and there is nothing particularly creepy about them, although that depends on the viewer. At night, I would definitely speak differently. Unlike the commercial about the radioactive Japanese mutant dog from my previous video, which you must have already watched and even subscribed to the channel, everything is known about these videos, from directors and actors to camera operators and makeup artists. The most interesting episodes were shot by Doug Garth Williams, known for his quite ambiguous vision. And if you're wondering how he was even allowed to do something like this, it's actually quite easy to explain. The thing is, the company was founded by former musicians, creative people who wanted to convey a part of their unusual worldview onto something like ice cream. So this commercial was supposed to be weird from the very beginning, and that's why they reached out to someone who knows a thing or two about weird stuff. For everyone who was directly involved in creating this commercial, it was quite an enjoyable and interesting experience, as we can learn from both the actress who played the living ice cream and the director himself. On his YouTube channel, we can find out a little more about the filming process and the technical means that were used for it. There, we can also see that there is actually no dent on the head, and instead of ice cream, a very tasty marshmallow fluff was used. In general, it's all a big deception. However, no one can try such ice cream anymore. On November 27, 2019, the company closed. This can be learned from its still existing, though no longer active, social media accounts. There are many reasons why they might have closed, from the insanely high prices for ice cream and rent in Philadelphia to rather strange and not very popular flavors, as well as perhaps not the best attitude towards customers, although this particular information should not be trusted too much. In any case, the little baby's ice cream can easily be called a creative project, and if that was the essence of the company, then they definitely did it 100%. Remember that nothing lasts forever, and now we're moving on to the next commercial. To be honest, The Dawn is Your Enemy can be called a commercial only conditionally, because first of all, it's a brake bumper. I don't know if you've seen them, but back in the day, brake bumpers were shown almost everywhere. Lawmakers in many countries believed that without a special text message, the average TV owner wouldn't be able to understand where the show ends and the commercial begins. Different channels approached this requirement in different ways. Some simply inserted ordinary text warnings, while others really bothered and tried to creatively combine brake bumpers with the style of the channel on which they were shown. There were many varied approaches to this, but over time, Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network stood out the most. And strangely enough, today we are interested in the second of them. And the thing is that every day, late at night, this channel gives way to Adult Swim, a programming block that broadcasts animated series for a more adult audience. In general, all that content that is definitely not suitable for the usual Cartoon Network viewer. The problem lies in the fact that all these things are shown on the same channel, but only at different times, so kids who wanted to watch the next episode of their favorite show could quite easily stumble upon something that was definitely not intended for them. I don't know how it is now, but Cartoon Network used to be known for its creative and numerous brake bumpers, and Adult Swim was no exception. You can find entire archives of these things online, but right now we're only interested in 2 of them, and apparently they were the ones solving the problem with kids who woke up too early and accidentally stumbled upon a channel that was not intended for them. I don't know about you, but if I saw something like this on TV early in the morning, I would definitely wonder what I was doing here. Actually, that's exactly what happened, and not with kids, but with the very adult audience for which the channel was intended. At some point, this creepy brake bumper became so popular that it went far beyond the Adult Swim viewers and became a source of inexhaustible fan creativity, often just as creepy and sometimes even more. Most often, they talked about the supposedly existing other version of The Dawn is Your Enemy, of course cursed, more creepy, with scarier music, and even a winking sun. One can only imagine how surprised the regular viewers of the channel were when, in May 2020, a new brake bumper called The Dawn is Your Frenemy appeared on it, largely following the ideas of old fan stories. Just like with Little Baby's ice cream, the creepy elements in the Adult Swim broadcasts are just a small part of the overall picture. This programming block became so popular that it gradually began to take over Cartoon Network itself, not only taking away some of its primetime hours, but also entire shows. People say that both versions of this creepy picture can still be seen on Adult Swim at random times, so if you have the desire and opportunity, you can also see them exactly as it was for people who stumbled upon these brake bumpers completely by accident. In any case, while you're subscribing to my channel, we smoothly move on to the next commercial.
Kinder, you both shaky. Me unscrabbly. Chock-a-doobie! Doubly chock-a-doobie! Pop swabble!
Can you name at least one person who doesn't know about Kinder Surprise? This brand of chocolate eggs with small toys inside quickly gained popularity around the world, but how exactly this happened sometimes raises certain questions. In the only available commercial featuring this creature, we are shown something like a living egg sitting on a stone fence, but instead of a shell, it has human flesh. Throughout the entire 30 seconds, he cheerfully shakes his Kinder Surprise and chatters animatedly in some obscure language, most likely addressing the audience. Here we can see that the Eggman has already gathered a pretty decent collection of toys, which, however, he does not enjoy for too long. Our living egg is distracted by the sound of a cuckoo, after which he cheerfully says goodbye to the audience and jumps off the fence, which is where the commercial ends. And if you also wonder why he suddenly decided to leave this world, then it's quite easy to explain. High housing prices. But if we're serious, the commercial was likely inspired by the version of Humpty Dumpty from the 1933 American film adaptation of Alice in Wonderland. Among the many funny and sometimes creepy characters in this movie, we can also see our Eggman sitting on a fence and waving his arms in exactly the same way. This character, who first appeared in the well-known book by Lewis Carroll, was obviously inspired by the old nursery rhyme Humpty Dumpty, which quite accurately describes what happens in the commercial that appeared almost 200 years after it. There are still a lot of different rumors and legends around the Eggman from Kinder Surprise, from the claim that the commercial was cursed, who would have thought, to the belief that it was banned after a wave of complaints from parents whose children were allegedly too scared to continue eating their chocolate. I may disappoint some of you, but none of this is actually true. The egg monster excited the imagination of British children for an entire year before he was simply replaced by someone else. At one point, this commercial was even nominated for a London Award for the Best Moving Advertisement, so it's definitely not cursed. and I'm afraid to imagine what other commercials were like that year. After watching it so many times, I still can't decide whether it's funny or scary, and it seems like that was the case even back in the day. Some people found the Eggman quite creepy, while others found him funny and amusing. Either way, it was a Kinder Surprise commercial, and that's all for today. Thank you for watching this video to the end, and I hope to see you again. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe.